I got my first check from TikTok and it was $1,000.
What is up, everyone? I am your host, Alannized, and this is Noche de Pendejadas, your favorite podcast turned talk show en donde yo traigo a tus influencers favoritos para platicar y posiblemente sacarles sus trapitos al sol. Hoy tenemos un episodio y a una invitada que no nomás ustedes, pero yo estoy súper emocionado de tener aquí con nosotros el día de hoy. So with that being said, please help me welcome tonight's guest, Mia Marie, most known as Miss Munchies!
Primitas!
Oh my God, I am so excited de tenerte aquí conmigo el día de hoy. Antes de que empecemos con el chisme y todo eso, cuéntanos un poquito de tu día. What were you doing? What time did you get up? Porque sé que tuviste like a 3-hour drive.
Yes, I woke up at 6 a.m. and I knew I had to be on time because I was like, I don't want to be running fashionably late because that's my worst thing. I got up at 6 a.m. I started to do my hair and then I drove all the way out here and it was so hot. So I had to get ready at the gym. I did my makeup and then now we're here.
Y aquí está, amigas. Ahorita cuando me estaba contando que se arregló en el gimnasio, yo le dije, me hubieras dicho, mi amor, para que aquí te arreglaras conmigo. Pero lo bueno que está aquí, amigas, y hoy les tenemos preparado un episodio que yo sé que a ustedes allá en casita les va a encantar. Antes de que empecemos con todo eso, yo te voy a dar el micrófono para que nos digas un poquito más de quién eres y qué haces.
My real name is Crystal Mia Marie Rocha, and I would prefer to be called Mia Marie because Crystal has like a lot of trauma with it, and I just love Mia Marie. It's the new person who I'm becoming. And you guys may know me as Miss Munchies. I am 26, a foodie content creator. I love to do mukbangs, everything having to do with food, girl, I'm there. I love to try all of the new viral foods that go all over your TikTok For You page. And I also just love to do everything DIY. I love to do my own nails, as you guys know from my TikToks. I also just do a little bit of everything. But most importantly is just all my TikToks. Like I love to genuinely create new viral sensations that you guys want to try at home.
A mí me encantan tus mukbangs. I was literally telling her off of camera that the reason why you kind of got my attention was because me recuerdas mucho when I used to do my mukbangs. A mí me encanta verlos. Me encanta hacerlos, también,
yes.
Because I'm like, girl, whenever. You know what I've been wanting to try for a while now that I saw you do? Cuando agarras los panes from Cane's
yes.
y le pones the Flying Dutchman from In-N-Out. Todavía no se me ha hecho ese gusto, amigas, pero posiblemente después de este episodio, hoy en la noche, amigas, me voy y me lo agarro because it is something que me antojaste. Yo te voy a decir Miss Munchies porque
yes.
me encanta ese nombre. Antes de que empecemos, where did that name come from? Like, what made you be like, you know what? Yo me voy a poner en mis redes sociales como Miss Munchies.
I came up with this Munchies because I genuinely have the Munchies. If you know, you know. And I just always had the Munchies. And I thought, how can I use that to become my alter ego on social media? And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to call myself Miss Munchies. That's literally my favorite thing to do is to go eat and try new food. So I was like, that fits me perfectly. I'm just going to run with it.
Y me encanta. Later on sí tenemos a whole plática de eso, de cómo empezaste social media. So we'll get more into that. Pero a mí me gusta empezar with your early stages of life. Me gusta empezar con tu infancia porque siento como que la gente allá en casita te pueden conocer y te pueden entender un poquito más conociendo how you were growing up y de tu infancia. So vamos a empezar con la primera pregunta that I like starting with. ¿Cómo fue Miss Munchies growing up?
Miss Munchies growing up went through so much. She had a very traumatic and traumatizing childhood that honestly made me the woman I am today. Without going through all of those things, I just feel like I wouldn't be the same person and work as hard as I do to, you know, make my goals come to real life. She went through so much at such a young age that not that many kids go through, which I barely found that out when I got older. And I actually started to talk to other people and open up about their childhood. And while they were playing with dolls, I was being the older sister, taking care of my younger siblings and having to like take on the parent role. Yeah. When I should have been the child. So my childhood was very traumatic and very very sad. It was I lived a very sad life that now looking back, I thought it was a normal. I thought everyone lived that lifestyle. I thought everyone had the same traumatic experiences that I did, but I ended up being completely wrong. I should have been playing with dolls, playing outside, going to the park with my friends, but instead estaba allí torteando, making food for my siblings, limpiando, and doing things like that when I feel like I got robbed from my childhood.
Yeah. Me estabas contando anoche that your biological dad isn't in your life. Tu mamá y él practically never got together. Platícanos un poquito de eso.
When my mom was 18, she was young and estaba horneada. Like she just, she wanted a hit it and quit it type of deal. And she just so happened to get pregnant. She was 18 when that had happened. And boom, I was not supposed to be here. I was like the mistake baby. But here I am today. I am not mad at her for having me so young and like going through all that. I just feel like I'm a little mad at both of them for their actions that they didn't do all my life growing up. So as soon as he found out that my mom was pregnant, he was also young. He was also 18 at the time, but he was in gangs, constantly going in and out of jail, selling drugs, and he loved just being a party animal, going out, meeting other women. So my mom just wanted nothing to do with that. And, I respect her as a woman to take on, that. I'm not going to have that going on in my child's life. And I understand that now it was like to raise a child, you need both parents. And she wanted to take on both the mom and dad role. But I just don't think she knew how. I don't think that she wanted to, but she just never actually did that. She could only be a mom at certain points in my life. I pretty much had to be my own parent, my own mother, and my own father because I never really had that. So my dad was choosing drugs and like going and partying. And then he ended up having so many other kids with other women because he was just, going everywhere doing his thing. And, I can't blame him because he was living the life that he thought was good for him at the time.
Yeah.
But now looking back at it, he should have been a father and he should have been there and they should have worked together. Even if they weren't together in a relationship, he should have chosen me over all the drugs and all of that stuff. And he didn't. And I think that that's where I feel like he should have stepped in as a dad. Like, I have a responsibility now.
It really does suck because, at the time, como dices tú exactamente, maybe your dad, your biological dad, was thinking like, yo voy a hacer lo que en este momento, works for me or is like fulfilling me sin saber el daño que pues te hacía a ti de niña. Did you ever get to meet him?
So I did end up meeting him, but it always came with something. So I saw him maybe once or twice between the ages of like 3 to 5, but he was always in and out of jail. That it was never consistent. He never ever, picked me up on every single weekend and that was the days where he should have kept me. No, it was never like that. And because my mom also knew the type of guy he was, she was also brainwashing me to be like, well, he doesn't love you. He doesn't care about you. He cares more about drugs. He cares more about other women.
At that age?
So I'm so young. And you're telling a little child that, a little baby who you should be like, no, like your dad is still your dad at the end of the day. And
he's
like
busy. Don't take it out on him.
But no, she was like very like, I'm going to rip off the Band-Aid. I'm going to let you know the real, the raw. And that traumatizes a little kid, that really makes me be like, oh, my dad is bad. My dad is not good. And every single time he would try to come, he would just give me money and he's like, here's $300 for this. Here's $400 for this. And I would grab that money and flush it down the toilet. Think about it now. I'm like,
oh my God, dámelo a mí.
Yes, literally. I'm like, I could have done so much with that money. But as a little kid, I'm like, I don't want nothing to do with him. He's bad. This is all drug money. And like, I just knew the type of guy from what she was telling me he was, that I just wanted nothing to do with him. Like, it just didn't make me feel right hanging out with him, knowing what he's choosing, and he's not choosing me. And I wanted him to choose me so bad. So I feel as if the fact that he was picking something else, that right there made me feel like, okay, like, you shouldn't want this guy in your life if he doesn't want you.
So cuando él te daba el dinero y tú ibas a la toilet to flush it, tu mamá no te miraba? Did she knew that you were flushing it down the toilet?
She did.
She's like, I'll help you, babes.
Yeah, she's like, I'm pulling the lever to flush it. Yes. She was actually the, like, I think it made her feel like, oh, like, yay, she doesn't want nothing to do with him. Yes, like, what I'm doing is working and she's seeing him the way I see him.
Yeah.
And looking back at that now, and I see all those videos on TikTok, like how you said, of like parenting and like co-parenting and things like that. And that's the last thing you should do to a child. The last thing you should do is try to make the other person or the other parent look bad.
Yeah.
And that's all she ever did to me. And her and my grandma would both be all up in my ears saying, he's so bad, he's so bad. And I understand that what he was doing was so bad.
Yeah.
Like being in gangs, selling drugs, doing all that was not good at all. But the fact that you guys were telling a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old that never left my mind.
Like you had no business knowing that at such a young age. Like, yo, honestamente, when you were telling me your story at the beginning, my next question was going to be like, you know, ¿a qué edad te das cuenta de que tu papá wasn't really like an honest person? And obviamente you found out at a very young age. ¿Cómo sientes tú que eso te afectó el no tener a tu papá presente en tu vida growing up?
It honestly made me feel very alone. It made me realize now that I look back at my childhood, I see that I have a lot of daddy issues. Like, I am your typical girl that has mommy and daddy issues because they should have been there for my prom. They should have been there for my homecoming. They should have been there, you know, trying to teach me sports or even just the company of having your dad and knowing that, like, if anything happens, you can go to that person. And I didn't have that. And especially, I didn't have that when my mom remarried and got with my stepdad. I just felt like I was lost. I always wanted to talk to somebody about boy trouble, and all my mom could do was say, oh, well, he seems like a nice guy, but he wasn't going to give me the response that, like, my dad was going to give me, and he wasn't going to give me she wasn't going to give me the same advice that my father would give me. And I always looked for that. Like, growing up, I always wanted, I guess, a male figure to show me, and he was just always absent. He was just never there. And it was so sad because I would see all these other little girls with their daddy and daughter dance and things like that. And I was always just like the one left out.
How did that make you feel?
It made me feel so sad because I felt like I was the odd one out. I felt like why is this happening to me?
Yeah.
Why am I not like all the rest of the little girls with their dads, and they would all come dressed up? Or even like when you had like student of the month and things like that, like my parents would never be there. And I would see like these little girls run to their dads, and I'm like, but where's mine? Like, where's mine? So it honestly made me like just lose out on a lot of special memories that I wish I had that other people had, and it was normal to them.
Yeah. Nos cuentas un poquito that your biological dad, you know, se volvió a juntar con otras mujeres, tuvo más hijos. Did you ever get to meet like your step siblings, or like did they ever reach out? Did you ever care to reach out to them?
I didn't know that my dad had other kids until I was 18, and that's when he was trying to change his life around. And he's like, hey, actually, you know, you have 3 other siblings. And I was like, whoa, like, when were you going to let me know that?
Yeah.
And he would write me letters from jail all the time, but my mom would never let me read them. She would throw them out. And then when he got out, he was like, did you read any of my letters? Did you see anything that I was trying to tell you? And honestly, I wouldn't. And I probably at that time, because I was being so brainwashed by my mom and my grandmother about how much of a horrible guy he was, I probably wouldn't have read them even if she gave it to me. And I regret that now because I would love to have a special bond with my siblings. And it's barely until this year where I took the matters into my own hands. And I then hit up my brother and was like, I would love to talk to you, because my dad also disowned him too because he came out as gay. And I'm like, what type of father are you?
Yeah.
Like, you have the chance to be a good father to him, but you still choose to shun him out because of what he likes. And I feel like that is the worst type of parent you could possibly be. First, you weren't in our lives because you were in all of these other activities that you wanted to be in. And now that you have the chance to, you're not going to be there for your child. Why would I want that?
So you hit up your brother. What was that like? You sent that first message, which I'm sure was very scary because even though you guys are step siblings, it's almost like you're hitting up a stranger. No sabías nada de él. ¿Cómo fue ese momento para ti? ¿Cómo te respondió tu medio hermano? Cuéntanos un poquito de eso.
He actually knew all about me. His mother would always talk to him about me, saying, oh, you have a sister, because he was my dad's Sancha at the time when he was hooking up with my mom. And she always knew that she was pregnant, so she would always let him know. So he knew all of his life that he had a sibling. And when I messaged him, it felt like you said, a stranger you don't really know. You kind of don't really want to step over boundaries and ask too much. So it was kind of it was honestly very awkward. It was very awkward. It was just very hard to have a conversation because there was a lot of hurt behind it, because you've never been in my life and he's never been in my life. So it kind of felt like we were just told completely two different stories. My dad said, oh, well, she never wants to come around. She never wants to be in our lives. And then I was thinking, you never come pick me up. You never come and try to see me. You never come and tell me that, hey, my siblings are there. So to me, he was always being fed one story, and then I was living a completely different story. So when I finally got to talk to him and tell him how I felt and what was really going on, he honestly took me with open arms, and he's like, wow, you're my sister. I want to have a relationship with you. And honestly, I thank him so much for that, because that's all I ever wanted. I never wanted them to feel like I didn't care about them or I didn't love them, because I love my siblings with my mom, and she had 3 other kids with my stepdad, and I love them like they're my biological siblings. And I wouldn't want my other siblings to feel out of place or like they can't count me as their sister. So I tried to do that, and I tried to be the bigger person and do what my dad should have done. But it's a work in progress with every single sibling.
Especially after all those years that you kind of missed out on having a relationship. Nos cuentas un poquito que tú como a los 18 años, you kind of, realized that your dad throughout your life was kind of reaching out. Very minimal, but he would reach out. Y tu mamá no te daba las letters. Now as an adult, do you ever blame your mom kind of now that you're like, you're in a different state of your life? Do you ever blame her for being like, you know what, I could have had at least some type of relationship with my father, regardless of who he was as a person? Do you ever blame her for taking that away from you?
Yes, and when I was growing up, my mom was my pedestal. She could never do anything wrong. So to me, I was like, well, no, she wants what's best for me. She knows what he is in real life, and it just made me feel very, very in shock when he was telling me something completely different. And I was like, wait, my mom can't be like that. Like, no, like, what are you going to tell me about my mom? Like, I know my mom. But in reality, he was like, no, look, I even have like postcard dates of like when you should have gotten the letters, but you didn't get them, and things like that. And I'm just like it honestly made me feel very sad, made me feel so hurt that instead of my mom wanting for me to have a father and daughter relationship, she was using her hurt feelings because he left her and putting that on me. And I feel like she should have put her feelings to the side and been, I'm creating another child. This is a new life to this world. I should give her everything she deserves and more. And a part of that is having a father, and especially your biological father. And she couldn't do that. So I feel it was just very sad that I couldn't ever have that. And made me look at my mom in a different light. It made me realize like, whoa, like she isn't just this like perfect person that I thought she was. She has a lot of flaws. And whoa. And it kind of was like a blooming onion. Like you revealed every layer slowly. And I was like, whoa, that shouldn't have happened. That makes
sense.
Yes.
Or, oh my God, now I know why that happened this way.
Yes.
Nos cuentas un poquito de que obviamente, you started, having your dad kind of tell you all these things. Did you ever like reclamarle a tu mamá like, Mom, my dad said that he would send me letters y tú nunca me las dices? ¿Nunca llegas a reclamarle a tu mamá de eso?
I actually did. I'm the type of person that if I feel something, if I don't like something, I'm going to let you know. I hate holding back. So as soon as we were done hanging out or talking or whatever the conversation was, I went to her and I was like, what is all this that I'm hearing? He's telling me that he was trying to talk to me, but you weren't letting him, or you were, not giving me the letters. And then she honestly just told me, yeah, it's true. He did give them to you, but I didn't think it was right for him to be in your life when he never wanted to be in your life ever before. And I told her, that's my decision to make. It's not yours. Yeah. You have your dad, and that's your relationship with him, but doesn't mean I have to be the same and not talk to him and cut him off my life. Like, if I want to have a relationship with him, I should have the opportunity and the chance to make my own decision. And especially at that time, I was already 18. I was like, this is now or never. Like, you're either going to be in my life or you're not. And it just made me feel even worse that I'm like, wow, like, you took the little chance that I had and you took it away.
How's your relationship with your dad now? Do you feel like now as an adult you're able to have a relationship, or have you tried to rebuild that relationship that you kind of didn't have growing up with him?
I tried to rekindle our relationship, and I really wanted him to, even if all those years he never wanted me, I still wanted that. And that's the daddy issues that still keep occurring by me wanting him to be in my life. But sometimes people just don't want to be in your life, and that's okay. You just have to let them go. And when I found out what he did to my sibling, and he didn't want to be there for him because he came out, that is to me, that's the most disgusting thing you can do to a human being. Because how do you do that to your own child? How do you stop talking to them, kick them out of your house, and literally shun them out of your life just because he came out to you?
Yeah.
That to me is the most disgusting type of human being you can be. Why would I want that person in my life? So I chose, no, I'm going to cut you off. This is actually like not worth it to have you in my life if that's the way you're going to be treating my other sibling.
Yeah.
Because you could be doing that to me. And then I'm going to be 10 times more hurt because I tried to get you back into my life, all for you just to cut me off because you don't think that it's okay. Because he thinks he's a very machista, he's very old school, he's very like, the girls stay in the house and the men do all the work. And honestly, in my relationship, it's the complete opposite. I love to be the breadwinner. I love to be, the boss lady. I love to call the shots. And he's anti that. He's like, what are you doing? No.
Like, stay home, girl. Go to the kitchen.
Yes, literally. He's like, ponte a tortear. Like, you should be cleaning, cooking. And I'm like, honey. Like, my man can do that. I am the breadwinner. I'm going to be the one, trying to achieve my goals. Even if they're technically, quote unquote, meant for men. That's what he thinks. I'm like, I'm going to do that just to prove you that women can do it.
Period. Tú le vas a enseñar a tu papá que it doesn't matter, if you're a girl or a guy, tú puedes hacer lo mismo que un hombre puede hacer. Quiero platicar un poquito de la relación con tu mamá. Obviamente nos cuentas que la relación con tu biological father wasn't really at all there. How was your relationship with your mom? Do you feel like because your dad wasn't present in your life, you were able to kind of create a stronger bond or relationship with your mom growing up?
Growing up, me and my mom were very, very close. I wouldn't say it's your typical mother and daughter relationship. I was her daughter trying to fill in the void that my stepfather was not fulfilling. He would do certain things that a man should do, such as help out 50-50. Whatever your relationship is, but you're going to help out your wife and try to be there for her financially or help her with some of the bills. And he wouldn't do that. So I would step in. I would skip school and I would try to go to the little tienditas or to my aunt's shop and sell panecitos, cookies.
¿A qué edad?
It started off when I was 8 and then it went on until I was 16, 17. And she always worked at the swamp meet. She worked at the farmers markets. And I would skip school just so I can go help her because she was going to give me $40. And I was like, this can help out my mom with groceries. This can help me out. I can get something. And I was trying to do all the things that my stepfather should have been doing for her instead of me as a child living the childhood that I should have been outside playing with my friends. I was thinking, how am I going to make money to help my mom? How am I going to get money so I can buy a new pair of shoes because mine have holes in it? Yeah. You can see my toes, and in school, those little kids, they're mean. They're going to be like, and it traumatizes you. It makes you never forget those small little moments because at the time, you're so happy. You're like, I got these new shoes. And you don't care where they're from. Yeah. At the time, you don't even know the difference. I used to always go to the swap meet. And at the time, the style were Timbs. Okay. Like the Timberland boots. Oh, my God. And I love them. I thought they were so cool when I would see everyone wear them. And I went to the thrift store. I found these lookalikes. I go to school. And they're like, are those construction boots? And then I'm like,
are those your dad's?
And I would never, ever wore them again. It was so traumatizing to me. And I thought I looked so good. Yeah. I was walking in there with even more confidence. I got new shoes. I didn't care that they were from the thrift store, but they were girl, what are those?
Your confidence estaba hasta acá y rápidamente te bajaron hasta abajo. That's crazy. So nos cuentas un poquito de que obviamente tú en una temprana edad, you started kind of working or kind of finding a way to like start providing or at least get some extra cash. What was your mom's reaction to that? Obviamente nos cuentas that you would skip out on school to go, you know, work. Did your mom ever be like, no, mija, tú quédate en la escuela? Or would she kind of like allow you to go work because she knew she needed that extra money?
Honestly, my mom never told me anything. I actually got so many letters from the school saying, where are you at? You should be at school. If not, we're going to take legal action. And she would get those all the time. And to her, she would read them and throw them in the trash.
Like, venga, aquí
yes,
los espero
exactly.
a la policía. Yeah.
And to her, it never fazed her. She never really cared. And honestly, to the point where she wouldn't even ask me anymore, like where I was getting the money. She just said, oh, okay, like, that's cool. You could help? Wow, thank you. And she would just take it. She never ever asked me. She never made me feel like, where are you working or what are you doing to make this money? And looking back at that now, that was super sad because she should have been like, no, you should go to school. What are you doing missing out on all these dates? My freshman year, I only went to school 86 days out of the whole entire school year.
Did you graduate?
Actually, I did, but I almost got expelled from, peleando con los putazos, So I transferred school, and at that school, I became a completely different person. I'm like, I'm going to put my head straight. I'm going to try my best in school, and I'm going to be the best version of myself. Because at the other school, it was a little bit more ratchet.
Yeah.
Girls love to fight and do things like that. So I was just in a completely different mindset. And skipping school was the best thing. I could go with my friends. And at that time, I loved Starbucks. Starbucks was the hype. So I would go with my friends. We would go get our little drink. And then from there, we would just spend the whole day walking everywhere. And then coming back at home 7, 8 p.m., no questions asked. She was like, oh, at least you came home. Like, it was very much like that.
Which I feel like as a kid, it's cool because you're like, they're not keeping tabs on me. My mom lets me do whatever. But like you said, as an adult and you start seeing like how crazy the world can be, you start realizing like, you know what, maybe my mom should have been more on me and she should have been like, mija, eso no se puede hacer porque te puede pasar esto en la calle. Pero obviamente tu mamá no estuvo así. Nos cuentas un poquito también that you had 3 other siblings con tu mamá. Tu mamá tuvo 3 other siblings with your stepdad. How was your relationship with your siblings growing up? Do you feel like you almost had to take almost like a second mom role? Or ¿cómo fue tu relación con tus siblings growing up?
So unfortunately, I did have to be like their second mother. If anything, their only mother, because my mom, she was working her regular 8 to 5 job, and then she would come home. She was so depressed that she would just go lock herself in her room and binge watch whatever show she was watching at the time. So whenever my siblings were hungry, she would be like, Krista! And she would scream super loud and be like, feed your siblings, make dinner, or what are you gonna make, or anything like that. And I would be like, wait, aren't you the mom? Like, shouldn't you be cooking dinner? And I'm only 11, 12 at the time, and I'm already cooking full meals and doing things like that. But in any culture, I feel like the older sibling takes on that responsibility. Yeah. And it's sad to say, but a lot of times parents will have kids so they can take care of their other kids.
Yeah.
And it's disgusting. And I see it as in, you just genuinely don't want to be a parent, because if you wanted to, you would still come home, clean, make sure that your kids are doing their homework. And my mom wasn't doing that. My mom didn't care if you were doing your homework. Once in a while, she would yell and be like, you should do your homework. But on the daily, it was either me or my uncle, which is her brother that also used to live at our house. And he was also 21 at the time when we were babies. He was living his own life. So de vez en cuando, he would be like, hey, how are you guys doing in school? Like, what are you guys up to? You better be making sure you're doing your homework. But the one person that was on my siblings all the time was me. I was making sure, okay, they were being taken care of because we didn't have no nanny.
Yeah.
They thought, oh, the oldest, she could take care of him. Even though I was 8, taking care of 2 twin babies and my younger sibling, I was like, oh my God, like, it's 3 babies. What am I doing? I'm changing diapers at 9, 10. Like, what am I doing? I'm literally like giving them a bottle. Like, I should be outside playing with my friends.
Like, you're the whole ass mom then.
Yes, literally. And that's exactly why I'm like, I've already had my kids. Yeah. Like, I don't need to have
I don't need anymore. Ya me hartaron, ya.
Yes, exactly. And it's completely different. I know, like, having siblings versus having your own kids, but it just traumatized me so much that I'm like, I was a parent. I literally went above and beyond for my siblings. And going to the farmers markets and making extra money, I would do it so we can all go to 7-Eleven across the street, get ourselves a bag of chips. Because, oh my God, los antojos were real. I would see all the kids going to the 7-Eleven, or the paletero would come and they would have all this money. And I'm over there counting
your pennies.
My pennies.
Your dimes.
Yes. And I'm like, I don't have enough. Oh my God. So the next time my tia was working, I'm like, I'm going to go work for her, because the antojos, I wanted that elote. I saw them eating it as they're walking back to their little house with their little backpacks, and I wanted that so bad. So when I was there and I saw my siblings, they also want that too. Like, they're also watching everyone else. So when I would go work, I was like, I'm gonna go so then we can go get that. And then finally I would be able to do that for them. And I did a lot of sacrifices for them that I don't even think they realize now. They know that I did that, and they know that I shouldn't have been doing that. But at the same time, they were brought up with the same mom and stepdad that I was. So they're very much like, well, it's like, she's the oldest. She was supposed
normal.
to. Yeah. And it's kind of sad to say that that's the way that they look at it, because now that I'm trying to work on all my trauma and my childhood and healing my inner child, I'm like, I should have not been doing that. You should have been able to give me the $1, or even my siblings. And I get it. Instead of it just being one kid, it's 3 other kids to feed. It's 4 kids. And, you know, money's tight, and I get that. But we're little kids. We want that. We want the little galletas. You know, we want those little things that other kids have. And it feels so bad when you see all the little kids have it and you don't have it.
Yeah. As you started getting older, you know, obviamente tú ya querías salir con tus amigas, querías pues tú hacer otras cosas and just kind of live your life as a teen. Did it ever get to the point where you almost kind of felt like you had to like be so good because you were almost like your siblings' role model?
Honestly, I felt as if what I was already doing should be enough. I was the rebel child. So I feel like a lot of things would happen at my house that I did anything to try to escape that. So growing up, my stepfather never ever let us go out, not even with our cousins, only with his side of the family. He would only let us go to their parties, their barbecues, anything having to do with his side of the family, we were allowed to go out. But if it was my friends from across the street saying that they had a party, oh, no, you can't go. Oh, my cousin wants to take me out to the movies, you can't go do that. So to me, I'm like, no, I'm going to do that. I'm going to go out. I'm going to go live my best life.
Would you sneak out a lot?
No, I would sneak out. I was taking cars. Yes.
¿Quién?
Oh, my God. I would take his car. He had an old school Monte Carlo, and it sucked at the steering wheel. It needed like power steering. And it was so hard, and I'm over there driving at the middle. Literally, I was like 13, 14, stealing his car. And I know that's so bad, I don't recommend that to anybody. But at the time, when you're just trying to live life and you're isolated and you feel like you could never leave, I felt grown. I felt like, you know, no one could tell me no. I'm not going to listen to you anymore. So I would do that, and I would steal their cars, and I would go leave, or I would leave to go get food for me and my siblings and like things like that. And I shouldn't have been doing that. I should have been home, you know, sleeping. But I was out there just trying to do everything that they weren't letting me do, I was trying to do. Whether they let me or they didn't. I was like, I'm going to do whatever I want. And I think that now, that I got older, I don't let no one tell me what to do. I don't let my man tell me no. I'm like, no, I'm going to do whatever I want to do, because as a child, everyone said, no puedes salir. You can't go out with your friends. You can't do nothing. And now I'm like, ain't no one gonna tell me what to do.
Like, yo voy a hacer lo que yo quiera, les guste o no. Y si no les gusta, chingar su madre, you know? Quiero platicar un poquito de you in high school or just in school in general. Me platicas que eras bien peleonera, amiga. Me platicas también que you were kind of like the rebel child. Platicanos un poquito más de tu school life. Why would you get in fights? Platicanos de eso.
So growing up in school, I was a little scrapper. I was mini Canelo, going at it with everyone out in the streets. Girls didn't like me for so many different reasons. And honestly, they all didn't make sense to me. A lot of girls would say that I was sending nudes to their boyfriends, and they would even leak some other girls' nudes and say that they were mine. And this is the time I'm a little older, so this is the time when Instagram was barely popping. They made a whole hate page about me saying that, girl, these are your nudes, and posting the nudes on Instagram.
¿Y la gente lo creía?
Yes, and it had like a following of over 1,000 of like kids that go to my school.
Yeah.
And they're all saying, it's Crystal. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm
like,
literally
soy yo?
sitting.
You're like, wait a minute.
Hold on, that's not me. I'm like, let me make sure. Let me make sure. And no, I was just like, whoa, like this girl had blonde hair, I had black hair. Like, I was like, wait, what? Like, this is not adding up. But just to be a bully and to hate on me, they would say all these nasty things about me. And I was literally sitting on my sofa, just chilling, and I would just get all of these messages saying, like, oh, you're just such a hoe. Like, you're trying to get at my man. And I'm like, dude, I don't even know who your man is. I don't want him, girl. Like, I'm good.
Wait, did you ever, like, tell the school about that? Did you ever, like, go to your teachers, counselors, like, mira lo que está pasando? They're exposing these fake nudes of me. How was that?
So growing up, I was always told the saying, snitches get stitches.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was always raised ghetto fabulous style. So to me, I was like, I'm not snitching. I'm not saying nothing. I'm just going to take it. And they're going to see me. When they see me, oh, it's on site. Like, that's that. And that's exactly how it was. When I first got into my first fight ever, I got my ass kicked. She literally knocked me out. She RKO'd me. Like, that was it. That was literally it for me.
She drop kicked you?
Yes, literally. I'm like, oh my God, I'm done. This is it. Rest in peace. I literally felt like such an embarrassment because I was like, no, like, I'm going to fight her when I see her. Girl, no. She literally kicked my ass. After that, it showed me, no, you have to learn how to fight. You have to learn how to protect yourself, because it just kept on coming. Like, everyone was talking so much shit about me online and posting all these pages. So I was like, no. And it wasn't just one Instagram page. It became like 3, 4. Yeah. And they're all saying like all of these things about me. Or they were taking pictures of me in school and being like, what's up with her fit? And because I didn't have no money, I would go to the thrift store. I felt like I was my own little fashion designer. So I was trying to be with all the ravers and wear like the high-waisted shorts and do all that.
The long socks.
Yes.
And shuffling days. Yes.
And at the Swami, I would go get like the little highlight clip-on extensions. And I thought I looked so cool. I thought I looked so bomb. But girl, no, they're taking pictures of me and they'd be like, who the fuck let this bitch out walk out like this? Like, no. So they were doing all that, and it just made me grow thick skin and understand that people are just not going to like you because they just don't love themselves. And that's okay. Like, it's okay. And you just be the best version of yourself and kill them with kindness. After scrapping up with everybody and their mama, I had to learn that that's not the way to solve my problems, and I'm never ever gonna resolve anything with throwing down like putazos,
like, para que me chinguen mejor en casa.
Yeah.
So obviamente, nos cuentas un poquito that like they would kind of bully you and really make you, feel really bad because they were like putting these like fake pictures out and just kind of bullying you online. Did that as a teen ever affect you emotionally?
Honestly, I felt like their only excuse was you're fat. You're fat. Oh my God, estás gorda. Yeah. And they would always say these things, but I'm like, you can never say I'm ugly though. Like, you can never say this face card declines, baby, because it doesn't. And I just felt like I would use that as my motivation. Yeah. Like, oh, you really think your man's gonna get at me? I'm gonna get at your man y te lo voy a quitar.
Yeah, para que mires lo que esta gorda puede hacer.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm like, and then you're gonna be like, oh, está con la gorda and this and this and that. But it's like, baby, don't get it twisted. Like, conmigo, like, don't play.
No le falta nada, tu man. Aquí está contento. That's crazy. So you wouldn't ever get, like, depressed because of all the shit you were going through at school? You kind of were like, you know what? Si quieren, yo les voy a dar, and I'm going to hit them with the same fist that they hit me with?
Exactly. I felt like if you disrespect me, I'm going to disrespect you, and I'm going to give you the same energy. Like, to me, I would never let it faze me because honestly, like, a lot of the time, girls are just all talk. They're catty, they just want to feel like they're badasses and all this and that. But I'm like, no, like, that's not the case here, honey. Like, I'm not going to let them make me feel bad because I know I'm not a bad person. I know I didn't send those. And I know that at the end of the day, I'm sleeping peacefully in my bed at night and I'm not here trolling and making other people feel depressed, because a lot of the times, a lot of my friends that would get bullied like that, they would be so depressed. They would feel down. They would be like, I have to start like counting back on my calories. Like, I cannot eat like this. I'm not going to eat lunch. And I'm like, honey, give me your lunch. Give it to me.
Comer más.
Yes.
Today's video is sponsored by Lumi. Si el calor del verano has you worrying about the strength of your deodorant, listen up, because I have just the thing for you. Y se llama Lumi. Not only do Lumi products go where other deodorants don't, it's also just outrageously effective. One application in the morning is clinically proven to block odor all day. So even if this summer feels like you're in Texas, or if you're literally in Texas, you don't need to worry. Lumi has you covered with up to 72 hours of odor control, and Lumi products like the whole body deodorant is seriously safe to use anywhere on your body. That means pits, underboobs, thigh folds, belly butts, butt cracks, vulvas, and feet. Their products are baking soda free and paraben free, and they are pH balanced for safe use under the belt. Choose from a variety of fresh, bright scents like clean tangerine, lavender sage, and toasted coconuts. Yo honestamente, amigas, amo los productos de Lumi. I was just in Arizona last weekend, and if you know anything about Arizona, you know it's hot out there. So you can only imagine how sweaty I was all weekend long on vacation. But with the Lumi whole body deodorant, amigas, lo usé all over my body. Y aunque andaba sudando, although I was sweaty, I was smelling good. Are you ready to make this your freshiest summer ever? Me and Lumi have partnered together to give you a special offer. All new customers get 15% off all Lumi products with our exclusive code and link. Use code Allen at LumiDeodorant.com. That is LumiDeodorant.com. Otra vez, amigas, all new customers get a 15% off all Lumi products with our exclusive code and link. Use code Allen at LumiDeodorant.com. And if you didn't catch that, that is LumiDeodorant.com. And with that being said, let's get back to today's episode. Estamos platicando anoche, de un tema súper sensible, and if you feel comfortable, I would love for you to share your experience. De la edad de 9 a 15 años, ¿te ocurrió algo que te cambió la vida por completo? If you feel comfortable, platícanos un poquito de eso, cómo comenzó y cómo te cambió la vida eso.
So, yes, I would love to talk about this because I want to get very vulnerable and let out the real Miss Munchies and what she had to go through, so other little girls that are in my position can see that you can make it out of that and you're not only just an SA survivor. When I was 9 through the age of 15, I was sexually molested by my stepfather, and it was the most horrific, terrifying, disgusting thing I've ever gone through. And I just want to say that if you're going through that exact same thing, speak up, because you will feel so free if you do so. And all my life, I've been hiding it. I've never felt comfortable enough to speak about it. And I'm so glad that I'm using your big platform to share so much awareness. It's very traumatic and it's very traumatizing. And sometimes people will never speak about it. And it's very sad. Like sometimes you don't know whether it's good to speak about it, or if it's going to be bad if you don't speak about it, or if you do. And I feel like ever since I spoke about it, I feel more empowered. I feel like I'm finally being able to be myself again, because when I was younger, my stepdad would call me into the room and ask me to give him massages. That's how it first began. And what's even worse about that is that now you see that in Jeffrey Epstein's case, that it started with massages as well. And I related so much to those girls that spoke up about it, because it's sadly to say, but our stories were very similar. It started off with, the feet, and then it slowly went up. And even if it's just feet, what the hell is a 9-year-old girl massaging a grown 30-year-old man's feet? Like, why? Why would I do that? I'm not your wife. I'm not your girlfriend. I'm not anything like that. Why? And it became something where it was just normal in the beginning. Like, oh, come massage my feet, come massage my feet. And then it became my back. And then from the back, it became my shoulders. And then from my shoulders, it became more. And he would sadly use like the opportunity that he saw whenever we were on summer vacation and no one else was there. He was the last, I guess, adult figure that was there before leaving to work, because everyone else has already left. So my grandmother, my mom, they were already gone at work, and it was just us, his kids. my 3 younger siblings, and me. And he would always call me in. And if I wouldn't go, he would go in there banging at my door saying, what are you doing? ¿Qué estás haciendo? Vente. Like, you're going to do it.
Yeah.
Like there was no excuse. Like, I couldn't just say, no, I don't want to. And I would go and I would be nagging. I would say, oh, why would I want to do this?
Yeah.
Like, why? And slowly but surely, it became literally my worst nightmare. He then started to touch me, and in places where even now, as a grown woman, as this happened to me over 11 years ago, it still terrifies me if a man touches me there.
Yeah.
Like, he would touch me all over my boobs, you know, and even it would just get worse and worse. And I have never felt that type of scared. I've never been that scared in my life other than in those moments, because in those moments, he is over 6 foot, 300 pounds. And at that time, I'm 9 years old. I'm a little girl. I'm vulnerable. I weighed probably 70, 90 pounds, and I can't do nothing. Yeah. You're like, he literally looks like a giant monster. And I call him Satanas. So if I refer to him as Satanas, it's because he literally is the devil. And I'm not even fully developed, like, as a girl. Like, I'm still, like, a little niñita. Like, I don't even know what he saw in me to do that. And I was going through the worst mental state I've ever been at the age of 9 when he started to touch my breasts and touch, you know, other spots. And it made me feel very, very alone. It made me feel like I couldn't speak about it with anyone because I didn't know of anyone else ever going through that. Yeah. And he would always threaten me and say, I'm going to kill your mother. I'm going to take her away from you. I'm going to take all your siblings away from you. Like, don't ever say anything because I'm going to kill her. And to me at that time, you're a 9-year-old little girl. Your mom is your everything. Like, she still hasn't done anything bad, like, in my eyes. Like, she's literally, like, my heart and soul. So the fact that you're going to take my mom away from me and my siblings, like, how dare you? How dare you tell that to a little 9-year-old girl, you guys? I want you guys to picture, like, a 9-year-old skinny, twiggy little girl and this grown-ass man doing that to her. And it became worse as it went, as it kept going on, as, like, I then started to, you know, go through puberty and, like, my breasts started to come in and things like that. It literally just became like you're reliving a nightmare.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't stop. Like, the nightmare just doesn't end. So whenever we would stay, like, home from school, it was the worst. Instead of everyone else, you see everyone else saying, like, yay, summer's happening, like, we're all going to be out of school. I am literally at my teacher's desk crying my eyes out because I'm like, I don't want to go home.
Yeah.
I don't want to go home because I already know what's going to happen. I already know what's going to be.
Que te espera.
Yeah. And I felt very alone, very, very helpless. I felt like I couldn't, like, I wanted to tell my mom, but yet I don't want him to kill her. I don't want him to kill her. I don't want nothing bad to happen to my siblings. But yet, I'm hurting so much inside. Yeah. And I tried to show it by saying I hate him, telling my mom I hate him. Like, why is he so mean? Or why is he doing all this, and that? And I tried to tell her in all these different ways.
Para que captara ella que something was going on. Yes,
I thought she would be able to understand, like, all of the red flags that were happening. But she wouldn't. She would just say, oh, well, it's like the stepdaughter and the new dad, like, situation. Like, you're fine. Like, everything's fine. And I would literally go into the room hesitating and telling him, no, I don't want to go in there. And then coming out crying, like, literally in tears crying, because I just couldn't believe that it happened to me.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that I was letting this grown-ass 300-pound, 6-foot scary beast do that to me, like, such a vulnerable little girl. And when I would come out, my uncle would see me crying, but he just thought, oh, it's because...
La hizo llorar, la regañó.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was always his excuse, like, oh, la pegué. That's why she's crying, la pegué. And, like, when you're constantly getting hit, that's, like, that should give you, like, hey, like, why? Like, what happened? Like, tell me more. But no one ever wanted to know more. Like, no, everyone's just like, oh, okay, like, está bien, like, everything's fine. Because they would never think that it would happen to, like, in their house, you know? And I understand that. But when you're a little girl pleading for help and no one is seeing your signs, no one is looking at your face and seeing him take the innocence out of you, like, I felt like I had nobody. I felt like I couldn't, like, no one really, like, cared about me, like, to know that, like, wow, something's wrong here. She hates him so much. She always calls, I would call him Satanas to everybody, to my mom, to everybody. And if you're being called Satanas and your child is saying that, there's a reason for that. And the fact that no one ever questioned it made me feel so sad, because I was like, I'm never going to get out of this. Like, I'm never going to stop this. And it only gets worse and worse as the time goes. And I felt like I was hopeless. And statistically, a lot of kids that go through this, you know, they end up either killing themselves or getting into drugs and, you know, or like running away and doing things like that. And statistically, I shouldn't be here. And I just did it for my siblings. I never wanted to say anything because I was always so scared that they would go into like the foster care system and like I would never see them again. And like I was always so close to them because we were never allowed to leave anywhere. So my only friends were my siblings. So not having them there, it was like, dude, you're going to take my whole life away. You're going to take, that was like their mother to them. Yeah. So I could not see a world without them. But yet I was dying inside. I was literally, you were taking out my soul every single time. And like to the point where it became so normal that I thought everyone went through this. I thought it was normal for this to happen. It became like he brainwashed me so much to the point where I didn't even know that anything was wrong. I was like, oh, okay, like this is normal. And you see it on TV shows that it happens to a lot of girls. And I'm like, oh, well, it happens to them. It's okay for it to happen to me. And I never wanted to talk about it with other people. So I never would ask if it is okay or if it is normal for them. And I think that is the most like hardest thing I had to go through, was understanding that it was so bad what was actually happening, because I had to stop my thinking process, because in my head I'm in fight or flight response mode. I am thinking, I'm trying to nurture myself and make sure that I'm okay mentally, but I was going through it, and and little did I know I was actually like just trying to protect myself in any way I could, and also protect my siblings, because I would be like, just do it to me. Just whatever you do, just do it to me.
Were you scared that he was doing that to your siblings too?
Yeah, and I would ask my siblings. I would ask my sister, because me and my sister have always been so close. So it would literally hurt me so bad if he ever touched her. And I would tell him, like do whatever you have to do to me, but not to my siblings. Do whatever you have to do to me, but not my sister. I didn't think he would do it to my siblings because they're boys, but it could happen to anybody. Yeah. And at the time, I told him, and I'm like 11, 12 years old when this is happening to me. So I'm thinking, don't do it to my sister. Like, my sister, no. Like, don't take that, her innocence away. Don't do that to her. I could suffer for her. I could do all that for her. And he would be, okay. Pero no la digas. And I would be like, okay. He'd be like, ¿te recuerdas? Te quito tu mamá. Te la quito. Nunca la vas a mirar otra vez. And when he would say that, I would be like, no, like, don't take my mom. Like, I'm a little girl crying for my mom, saying, no me la quites. And that was his, like, way of scaring me into believing his lies and to believing the manipulation. And, like, he's very egotistical. So everything that has to do for him, he wants it. He is in a he's in a lowrider car club. And so to him, old school cars and things like that were his prized possession. Yeah. And he put all his money and soul into those cars. His kids could have beat up shoes with holes in them. Our clothes can be so tight on us that we don't even fit that size anymore. But as long as his car has a new fresh paint and a new rims and a new hydraulic system, oh, he's fine.
Primeramente, I want to say sorry porque lo que pasaste tú es algo que no one should ever have to go through. And it makes me happy que even after going through all of that, tú estás aquí todavía con nosotros. Quiero platicar un poquito, de lo que me estabas platicando at the beginning, at an early age. You almost kind of saw it as normal, obviamente tú no captabas a esa temprana edad de lo que estaba pasando. At what age did you realize, or did you kind of have like a moment where you're like, you know what, this isn't okay? Lo que él me está haciendo a mí es algo que no todos los niños are going through. What age was that for you?
It was when I had turned 14 and I went to high school. And I then became really, really close to another cousin that had the same situation happened with her, and her stepdad also was molesting her, and she actually ended up telling her counselor, and then he got arrested and he got put into jail, and she got taken away from her family, and exactly everything that I was so scared of happening to me happened to her. And when I found that out, she was the first person who I told, and I told her, hey, it's happening to me. And she said, it's not normal, it's not okay. Like, you need to tell somebody, like, you need to speak up. But at the time, she was also fighting to get her siblings back, to be put back with her parents, to be put, like, back in her normal state where she felt like it was her home. And I was like, oh my God, no, like, everything that I did not want to happen is happening to her. So I'm definitely not going to say anything now. Like, I'm definitely going to take this to the grave, and I will never speak up about it because it's genuinely so traumatizing, and I was so close to my siblings. Like, my siblings were my world. So to me, I'm like, no one's going to take away my siblings from me. Even if he doesn't like them and he doesn't care about us, like, I care about us. Like, I care about our family. So to me, I felt very, very...
Like, you almost felt like you had to protect your aggressor.
Yes, and I also had to, in a way, I felt I was protecting my siblings by taking all of that from him. And I felt like I was doing the right thing at the time, but I completely was not doing the right thing. I should have spoken up when I had the chance, because the legal system sucks. When you turn 18, they have to do something at that very moment for it to be considered
like a crime,
a natural crime. And versus when you're a child, they take better legal action and they actually understand what you're going through. And I should have spoken up when I had the chance. And that's the number one thing that I want to tell for everyone who's watching. Speak up and speak. It's going to be so hard, and it's scary, and it's a very scary thing, but speak up and let it be known, because it's not okay. And even if he manipulates you and tells you all these things, it is not okay at all.
Nos cuentas un poquito de lo que pasaba in the bedroom. Outside of the bedroom, would your stepdad treat you like any different than your siblings? Was he like nicer to you because he was scared that you were going to open up?
Unfortunately, that did happen a lot. I felt like I was always the ugly step sibling. I was not meant to be in their family. He always made me feel like that by doing little acts such as... Everyone was getting the iPhone at the time, the new iPhone. And I was like, what about me? Like, I want one too. I'm expecting for me to get one as well. And he gave me his old phone. And every single time he could, or he saw me, he would get my phone and see if I'm like to whoever I'm talking to. And it would be right in front of my mother, right in front of my siblings. And he would get mad, yell at me, beat me. He would literally beat me up with an old school crocodile Mexican belt. That would leave slash marks on my back, that would leave me with moretones on my back. And I would be screaming helplessly and asking my mom, help me, tell him to stop. And my mom would just turn the other way and act like nothing was happening. Act like, oh, that lo mereces. Like, you shouldn't be doing that.
He's disciplining you.
Yes. And to me, I couldn't understand or wrap my mind around, like, why is she letting him do this to me? Why is she letting Satan hit me over and over and over again? And I'm pleading. I'm screaming at the top of my lungs. I'm trying to run to my grandma's room to have her save me.
Yeah.
And he's just hitting me in front of her. Like, he did not say anything. No one said anything. Everyone just let him do what he was doing to me. And it became even worse after that. He started to get even more possessive. He took my phone away, all because he caught me talking to other guys. And at that time, I was like, well, I'm 14. Like, everyone is talking to other guys. Like, my friends are all having like their little boyfriends.
Yeah.
Like, I want to too. Like, I don't want to skip out on living my life. So I'm gonna do it, even if it's behind his back, you know. And since I was always like the rebel child, I still was gonna do it. And I would take pictures, and he would be like, "You look like a stripper. You look like a hoe. Like, you're disgusting. You're a disgrace to our family."
Enfrente de tu mamá?
Enfrente de ella. And then he would hit me and hit me and hit me. And I am pleading, crying, trying to tell my mom, like, why are you letting this monster do this to me? And yet, to her, she was like, well, why are you doing that? Well, why are you talking to those guys? Why are you taking pictures of yourself? And I'm like, everyone, it's Instagram. It's like, that's a thing to do nowadays. And no one ever understood that. And it felt like it was just one thing after another, to the point where it felt like I was his girlfriend. Like, it felt like he genuinely thought I was
like his property.
I was his property. I was just like something he could control, and yet he can still get the satisfaction out of me. And like, it just felt very, very like a boyfriend girlfriend type of relationship, where he's like super celoso and he's like doing all those things. But I am in my head like, how is my stepdad doing this to me? Like, how does he see me like that? Like, that's so disgusting. Like, I would have nightmares, and I would wake up screaming in the middle of the night. Because I'm like, don't touch me. And to the point where I had no lock in my bedroom door. So he would come in whenever he would want.
Even when your mom would be home sometimes too?
Yeah, he would come in there, and he would like threaten me and tell me, and like, or try to do something to me, and I would talk extra loud, to the point where my uncle, that is my mom's brother, that was living there at the house, he would kind of hear and like kind of like get up, and you could hear because our walls are so thin.
Yeah.
So he would leave.
You know, you're obviously pleading for help in many other ways, and you weren't telling your mom what really was going on. Did it ever get to the point where you kind of felt some type of resentment towards your mom because, you know, at the end of the day, this was her partner, that she was kind of almost allowing him to take this away from you? Did you ever feel that way before you spoke up about it?
I actually was very, very angry with my mom for such a long time, because it felt like you saw everything happening. Yes, maybe you didn't see that exact act of him molesting me, but you saw him beating me up. You saw him looking through my phone constantly. You saw him doing all of these little tiny red flags. Actually, not tiny. They were huge red flags.
Huge red flags, yeah.
And yet you never ever thought to yourself, what's happening? Why am I letting him do that to her? And instead, she would just look the other way. I think that's what made me the most sad, because I always saw my mom, like, she was so perfect. She only wants what's best for me. But yet she's allowing him to treat me like that. And it got even to the point where we would go to the store for back to school shopping. And this is the time when kids are most excited, because, you know, you're going to get your new clothes, your you know,
mochila,
everything, you know. And I'm waiting
yeah.
to be stylish, because I love that. I love fashion, and I love to do all that. And yet he would take me to go watch all of my siblings go get clothes, shoes, whatever they wanted. He would even make sure to say, agarra lo que quieras. Put it in the car. Take it with us. Let's go. And he was like, but not you. But not you. You will get it some other time. And then I'm like, wait, what? And my mom would see that, but yet still wouldn't ask any questions, wouldn't even think twice, like, hey, that's weird. Hey, that's not right. Like, no, she would just be like, well, this is what he wants to do, and that's that. And I think that that's where I have a lot of the trauma, where I will never let a man tell me what to do. Yeah. And I hold that so closely, and I will never, ever let anyone tell me what to do, because I seen my mom do that. And I want it to end with me. I don't want it to keep being a constant trauma cycle where it keeps on going. And that's also because of everything that happened to me. I don't want no kids now. I don't want that, because it happened to me. It could happen to anybody. Even the people you think would never do it, are going to do it. Or yes, maybe they don't, and it's good. Some kids don't have that and they don't have to deal with that. And I think that is the best lifestyle you could live, and you never have to deal with this trauma, because it's something where you can speak about it, talk about it, and try to like get help about it, but it's so hard. Dealing with the day-to-day struggles is the most hardest part of being an SA survivor. I genuinely feel like that is the most traumatizing part of it all, because you want to not think about it, but yet your mind just plays games on you and you just constantly think about it. And I feel like it's been one of the hardest things to get through, especially in my relationship now, where I don't even let my man touch me in those areas, because I will literally break down into tears. Like, he cannot ever touch my breast. Like, and I have voluptuous breasts, and I want to show them off and I want to be that girl, but like, I can't. And it's very, very sad to say this, but like, even in the bedroom, like when we're doing certain acts or laying in certain positions, like I will literally like, no, like, this is it. I'm done. You cannot keep going. Like, I literally feel like I'm that little girl again. Like, I feel like I am trying to run away from Satan, and I'm trying to literally like, no, like, don't touch me there. Like, you can't do that. And speaking up for her, what I should have done then.
Yeah.
But now I'm doing that. And it still sticks with me every single day that I think about like my mom, because I haven't talked to her in so long, and it genuinely like it really, really is like a work in progress.
Yeah.
And it just is so hard to live with something like this.
Nos cuentas, de lo que te estaba pasando. And for a long time, it was a secret that only you and this person knew. Because you were bottling up all these emotions and everything that was going on, did it ever get to the point into, teenage years where it really put you in a very dark place where even you yourself didn't know how to get out of it?
I think that instead of it making me feel dark, it made me want to go with, like, I wanted a boyfriend. I wanted a man to protect me. And I would go and try to find all of these guys. Like, I would try to find these boyfriends, quote unquote, that I thought were good for me. And they were the complete opposite of good for me. They were actually a mirror image of him, machisto, and like just not good for my mental state and physically. Like, why am I giving myself to all of these men who don't deserve me, who don't? And I feel like that's the one thing that I regret so much at that time in my life, when instead of being out and being a floozy, I should have been treating my body like a temple and trying to get back what I got taken away. And it was just a very, very sad moment in my life, but I never let it get to where I was super depressed. If anything, my sister actually was the one going through very, very bad depression. She was actually cutting herself, and she had her own daddy issues that I had no idea about. And when I tried to get her counseling, and finally she was talking to a therapist, and it's then when she found out through her therapist that something was wrong between me and her dad, because she was explaining to him our relationship as stepdaughter and dad, and the therapist told her, that's not right. Yeah. Hey, wait, there's something happened to her. Like, you should ask her. You should try to figure out what's happening here. And when she came home from that therapy visit, she looked me in the eye and she told me, what did he do to you? What happened?
And ¿a los cuántos años?
At that time, I was 18 and she was 14. And this was when she was in the worst depression state of her life. And she was really, really suicidal. And I genuinely didn't know if I was going to have my sister, or I'm going to find her in the room one day and she's going to do whatever she could. So I was trying to get her the best help. So when she came home to me and looked me in the eyes, I shattered. I started crying. I couldn't even control myself. Like, I genuinely was like, how did you find this out? What happened? Like, what? Like, I genuinely was so in shock that she told me, what did he do to you? Like, what happened? And she is the one who saw the red flags. Not my mom, not my uncle, not my grandma, not no one else. But my little 14-year-old sister saw the red flags. And she's the one who booked me on it. And when she told me that, I then told her everything.
¿Y cómo tomó eso?
she honestly, I think that made her even more depressed. I think it made her worse. And at the moment in time, I thought I was being the best sister, and I thought I was genuinely doing what was best to let her know that this is what happened to me. So do not let him do that to you. But it just made her 10 times more sad, because now she knows how her dad really is and what kind of a garbage man he truly is, and his intentions on me. And to her, it was like a lightning bolt hit, and she connected all the dots, and she was like, this all makes sense. And my sister was my world. She still is my world. She's my best friend. And to me, I think that that's what hurt me the most, was to hurt her and to see her little eyes just light up and cry, and like she couldn't go, she couldn't tell anyone what was happening, because she's like, I can't go to my mom because my mom doesn't know. It's happening to my older sister, which is my best friend. And then I just felt like I made it 10 times worse, and I should have just kept it to myself. But at the same time, her therapist was also shining a light onto who's a real problem to her depression, and it's her dad. Her dad for never being there for her. Her dad for always constantly worrying about his cars versus his kids, and her lacking so much love from him, and X, Y, and Z. And he is the main culprit to her depression. And that's why I felt like I was doing the right thing. But at the time, I was a kid too. I was 18. I didn't know any better. And looking back at it now, it's so sad, because she took it the hardest.
A los 21 años, you build the courage to finally tell your mom and your grandma de lo que en verdad estaba pasando, with your stepdad. ¿Cómo pasó eso? What led up to you finally wanting to speak up? ¿Y cómo lo tomaron tu mamá y tu abuelita?
I finally got the courage to tell my mom and everyone, actually, that this was happening to me, because nothing ever bad happened to him. He never got anything bad happening to him. And finally, one day, my sister called me and told me, hey, his car got repoed. And I don't know what made me feel like that was my moment. That was like, yes, finally, something bad is happening to him. This is my moment. This is my time to shine. This is when I'm going to say it. And I go and tell my uncle that used to live there, which is my mom's brother. And he then connected the dots and started crying and telling me that, like, it all makes sense. I would see you come out of the room crying your eyes out. I would see that you would say, I hate him, I hate him. And it all made sense, and it all clicked in his head. And he's like, let's go tell everyone now. Like, let's go. And he was like the little encouragement that I needed to go tell them. And when I went to my house to go tell everyone, I told my grandfather, and he was the second person to believe me and to be like, yes, let's go do it right now. What are we waiting for? This is your moment. Let's go. Let's kick this guy out, and everything's fine. And I then go to my grandmother, thinking she's going to be a girl's girl, thinking she's going to have my back. She's raised me. She's been there all my life. We live in her house.
Yeah.
She has this monster in her house, and she actually told me that I'm a liar.
To your face?
Yes, and I had my sister there, so I can tell her. She's known so many years. Her therapist is the one who told her. And she was like, no, you're lying to me. You're lying. Like, no estés echando mentiras. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, who lies about this stuff? Like, why would I want some attention out of this? Like, this doesn't make sense. And she genuinely told me, like, if you speak up, you're breaking up a good family. Thinking about your siblings. Think about all them. And I'm like, but what about me?
Yeah.
No one ever thought about what about me. And you're just going to let this happen and be okay with it? And she told me, like, she begged me not to tell my mom. And she begged me. She said, no, you're going to hurt her. You're going to hurt everyone. You're lying. Like, there's no proof. I was torn into pieces. I genuinely could not believe that those words were coming out of her mouth.
Yeah.
I could not believe it. My uncle couldn't believe it. My grandfather couldn't believe it. No one could believe that that's her reaction. She wanted to hide it. She wanted me to not say anything. She genuinely wanted me to never speak about it ever again. And to her, that would be fine because she felt embarrassed. And the next day after all of that happened, she called me and left me a voicemail and told me that if I say anything, that she will literally die because of me. That I will be the reason why she dies. Because I caused her so much trauma. And I'm like, what about me? What about the 9-year-old little girl that was being sexually molested by a 300-pound monster?
Yeah.
What about that 9-year-old girl that should have been outside playing with her dolls? She was being molested and touched and done all that too. What about her?
Yeah.
Because at that moment in time, when I was telling her everything that was happening, I felt like that little girl again that never got to speak up. And for her to genuinely tell me that that's her thinking process of that I will literally die if you say anything, that's when I told her, go to hell. Because that's where you belong. You do not tell a young little girl who went through all of that you are going to be the reason why I die.
Yeah.
How dare you? How dare you speak to me like that? How dare you tell me that? If anything, you should be there for me the most.
Yeah.
You should be ready to kick this guy out to the curb. And for everything to happen that should happen to him. And I wanted to press charges. I wanted to go full force. But she was like, no, this is going to be it. You're going to always remember this. Like, so when I die, be ready to remember that it's because of you. It's all because of you. And I genuinely, like, I just told her, go to hell. That's it. I don't want nothing to do with you no more. You're not my grandmother, because that's not how a grandmother acts. Yeah. And I then go and I tell my mom. And my mom was like the most scariest person to tell, because we were so close, but yet not close.
Yeah.
And I tell her in the middle of the night on a Friday when she gets off of work, and I break down to tears. It's me and my boyfriend, and we're there. I'm looking at her, and I'm hyperventilating, crying, to the point where you could barely understand what I'm trying to say, because I just have so much hurt and so much anger built up inside of all the years holding it in, that finally letting it out. And she was like, it's perfect. Okay, perfect. I'm so sorry that happened to you. Let's like, we'll be fine. We're going to be together. On. Yes, like, we can do this together. We're going to be okay together. Nothing's going to happen. He won't touch you no more. He won't do none of that no more. We're going to, throw this guy out. And she was feeding me all of the right things at the moment to say. But she's like, I have not paid a year and a half of mortgage. So I owe $15,000 in mortgage. And I owe the gas, the light. I have thousands on thousands of bills of debt just collecting there. So give me 1 month. Give me 1 month to figure out my situation. I'm going to try to have him pay for it. And then we will tag team this, and we will take this on, and I will help you, and we will get you help. Because I was like, I need help. I'm going crazy. Like, I can't, like, the nightmares are too insane. Like, yeah. I can't live like this anymore. And she told me that she would be there for me. Everything would be fine, just to give her 1 month. I told her 2 days before Thanksgiving. And that's the time where you should be with your family. You should be having the time of your life. Those are the special moments that you remember all your life. And crickets. She never speaks to me again. Never says anything, doesn't give me a call. What mother does not call their daughter or son after hearing such a traumatic thing that happened to them?
Yeah.
With someone they brought into the picture.
Yeah.
And she just didn't say anything. So on Christmas Day, I was so hurt. I'm like, it's been a month. I'm going to text her and I'm going to let her know. If you do not talk to me by New Year's Eve, that's it. I'm not talking to you no more. I'm cutting you off. This is the last time you will ever hear from me. And what did she do? Nothing.
She didn't even reply to that text?
No, she spent Christmas with him, posted Christmas pictures of their little family together without me there. And that's when I texted her on New Year's Day, this is it. I'm done. I'm done. You're an ancient ass mom. You will never be a good mom to any of us. You were never there growing up. You will never hear from me again. And when I make it, and this is my I made it moment, you will regret that you were never, ever there for me. And you never, ever were a good mom. And I hope you see this, and I hope you understand how much pain and trauma you have caused. And the fact that you still lay up in the same bed where everything happened, oh, you will receive your karma. Because that is the most disgusting thing to do as a mother, to still stay with an abuser like that.
You know, pasa esto, y me estabas contando anoche that right after that, you leave the house, and for a moment you kind of, you become homeless. Cuéntanos un poquito de eso. What was that like? You obviously finally speak up about it. You don't have you don't get the reaction that you need and you should have gotten cuando you spoke up. What was that like? Oh my God, I just lost my family. I just lost everything. Now I don't have a home to call a home. ¿Cómo fue todo eso para ti?
At the time, I felt so alone because I had nowhere to go. I had no one to rely on. I was truly going to just be sleeping in my car. And I think that's the lowest of the lowest I've ever felt in my life. Was I had no money. I had nothing to my name. I had only my dignity and my 3 little makeup bags that I had to carry with me. And that's it. And the only person who I had at the time was my best friend. And at the time, he's my best friend. He's doing his thing. He's living his life. And I've never spoken to anyone other than to that one cousin at the time that this had happened to. And I had just come out to my whole family, telling them everything. And that's when I told him everything that had happened to me. And he received me with the love that I wanted my own mother to. He said, you will never go back to that house. You are going to come live with me. I'm not going to let you out on the streets. You will not be homeless. And you'll have a place in my house. He lives in a 1-bedroom house with his family, his sister. And he lives in a little office den space. Yeah. And he's like, you'll be here. You'll be here. You'll be fine with me. And ever since then, I moved in. I never said anything. I just got my stuff. I left. And I moved in with him, and it's not been the easiest thing, but I'm so thankful for him every single day because I could have been homeless. I could have been out on the streets, and he didn't let me. He saw how much I was suffering. He saw how badly I was hurt, and yet he just took me in, and from there, he just helped me rekindle back to what I liked to do as a child and try to help me heal my wounds when he didn't have to. Yeah. He didn't have to at all. And the fact that he did that, it just showed me the type of people that are out there, and that my family just wasn't those type of people. And there's actually really, really good people out there who will take those people in when they need it the most. And he has truly been there for me like no one else has.
Nos cuentas that at the time he was your best friend. Yo quiero saber un poquito más de esa historia de amor. How did you guys go from being friends to then being like, you know what? I'm starting to fall for you. Like, I want to become a relationship. Who made the first move? How did he ask you out? Cuéntanos un poquito de eso.
So I had actually always told him that I found him attractive. And at the time, I worked at Nike with him, and that's how we met. And we were really good friends. We hit it off ever since we first started talking. And, there was that rumor going around. Everyone was telling me, like, well, like, he's gay. Why are you going to get with him? Yeah. Why are you giving him the time of day? And I'm like, I don't care. Like, I see him. I like him. Like, I think he's fine. Like, I'm going to go get that. And I would tell him, and he'd be like, no, like, you're a player. Like, you have all these guys. And I was like, no. So that's why he was just like, oh, we're just friends. We're just friends.
He was friend zoning you at the beginning.
Yes, hardcore. I was like, what the heck is going on? That's never happened to me before. Usually I get what I want. So I'm like, what the heck? And then I was like, maybe he really is just gay. He doesn't like me. He doesn't want to be with me. And that's fine. So when he took me in, it was like, oh, my God, like, I'm living with this guy, like, that I like, but he doesn't like me back. Like, whoa. And then finally he tells me, like, I actually really like you. Like, I actually am, like, falling for you, too. He's like, but I don't really know you. Like, I thought I knew you, but then all of a sudden you come to me with this big, huge problem that you had, and I genuinely don't know who you are.
Yeah.
So then we took the time to actually genuinely get to know each other. And I was going through my Britney Spears moment. I chopped off my hair to a bob when I had, like, inches of hair. And I went through a full transformation. I was blonde at the time, and then I went back to my dark brunette.
You were trying to find yourself. Yeah.
I really was trying to find myself. And he helped me. He helped me through it all. He was there for me. I wasn't working at the time because I was genuinely so caught up in like what was going on with me that I couldn't keep going. So he was there for me. Honestly, we just really, really got to know each other on a deeper spiritual level. And he then asked me to be his girlfriend after living with him for almost a year.
How was that moment for you?
And it was one of the best moments ever. He made like this big, huge, like ramo buchon with like chocolate covered strawberries, and he got printed out pictures of us. He asked me out in the type of videos you see all over your YouTube page, the Instagram feed, like, and it just made me feel so special and so loved. Yeah, it genuinely felt like that. And it felt like, wow, like no one has ever loved me like this before. And the fact that he is showing me that, like, he's just really like the angel that came into my life at the perfect time.
¿Ya tienen ahorita juntos que 6 años?
Yes.
Y los que les falta, amigas. Yes. I really am happy that, you know, despite everything you've gone through, you were able to find someone that really, you know, was there not just because they felt like they had to be there. He genuinely wanted to be there to help you and help you navigate everything you were going through and everything you were feeling. And I'm so happy que encontraste a tu persona. Y yo estoy listo para la boda, amigas. Cuando pase, yo quiero estar ahí. Quiero platicar de algo positivo. Obviamente, hablamos de todo lo que te pasó de tu infancia. If you can go back to a day that you remember with so much happiness and you're like, you know what, even though I went through so much as a kid, me recuerdo de este momento, what would that moment be and why?
That moment would be at my tia Marta's bakery. She had a bakery, and all of my family used to work there. And I was really, really close to her daughter and my cousins. We would all go there, and because we were always starved as kids and we never had food in the fridge, her bakery was like the best kitchen I've ever seen in my life. I would make myself tacos, tamales. I would be eating cake, cookies, everything that I wanted, I grabbed, and she would just let me eat whatever I wanted until I got full. And then she'd be like, no, take some home. Like, what can you take? What can you take? And because she saw how we lived and she saw that it was not the best. So I know deep down inside, she did that to nurture me and to make me feel like, wow, like, it's okay when you're here. And it made me truly feel the best when I was there at her bakery, because I felt like I was in La La Land. I was like, wow, like all of this food, yo me quiero comer todo. Like, and she was just the sweetest lady. So I would go back in time and give her the biggest hug. She passed away 5 years ago. Yes.
Was that hard for you?
Oh my God, it was the most traumatic thing. She passed away on 4/20 delivering a cake up in Santa Barbara, and it was the most saddest thing. I have never been through that before until that moment in time, and I couldn't even go look at her casket. Like, it was genuinely.
¿Qué le pasó?
She was driving around 6 a.m. and she was driving around the coast, and her boyfriend had turned and another car hit them, and they struck her side, so she passed away instantly.
Oh my God,
She was the
sorry.
strongest woman I've ever met. She went through breast cancer twice, and she was still there every single day at the bakery. So she showed me what true entrepreneurship really, really is.
And I know Tia Marta, if she's watching this from heaven, I know she's so proud of you for speaking up, speaking your truth, and really being the amazing woman you've become today. Aquí tenemos una foto que tu novio me la acaba de dar. Aquí estás tú. ¿Cuántos años tenías aquí en esta foto?
Tengo como unos 4, and that's actually in her house.
Mirando esta foto, what is the first thing that comes to mind? And if you were able to go back in time, what would be something you would tell this little girl?
Scream. Tell everyone what was really happening, and do not let no one ever tell you otherwise. Do whatever te da la pinche gana. Do whatever you want. Do not let no one ever tell you any otherwise, because I let a lot of people tell me, don't say it. Or I let a lot of people scare me. And looking back at it now, I should have been resilient. I should have just done it. I should have just said it. And I wish I would have done that.
Once again, te quiero decir gracias, for coming on my platform and really speaking your truth. Yo sé que it took a lot of you to like sit down here conmigo y platicar de todo lo que tú has pasado en tu infancia. Quiero platicar un poquito más de Nike. Nos dijiste que ahí conociste a tu novio, ahí empezó esa historia de amor y ayer me contaste que en esa misma tienda te corrieron y hasta terminaste en la cárcel, amiga. Yo quiero saber todo ese chisme, cuéntame cómo pasó, qué es lo que pasó y cómo te la hiciste tú en la cárcel.
Okay, so that's actually a funny story because I had so many great memories there at Nike, and it was a really fun job. That's where you see all of the young hires. There was a lot of, cute boys there. So I was like, it's a perfect spot for me. But I also met and I was really, really close friends with another employee that worked there. And at the time, she had stopped working there because she was just seasonal. And I was actually working up to be a manager position. So I actually, was as a cashier doing my daily thing. I was being cute, charging her. And at the moment in time, there was a lost kid. And at the time, they closed the doors and they try to make sure that no one leaves or no one could come in. So that moment in time, she took it as, I'm going to steal. And I had just checked her out. So she was already supposed to be walking out of the store. And she goes in and shoves a whole bunch of stuff. And she knows that when they catch you stealing, they can't do anything.
Yeah.
So she did that. And then, boom, they found the kid a couple minutes later. I'm still checking out people. I'm still working. And she's over there, doing whatever she wanted to do. And then a couple weeks later, they're like, oh, yeah, you're going to get the manager position. Let's go sign the paperwork in the office. Girl, no. There was 2 officers saying, you're ready to be arrested, honey, because you were just stealing. And I was like, what? Like, I was genuinely so in shock. I started crying. I was like hyperventilating. I'm like, what is happening to me? Wait, what? I thought I was going to get the manager position, but then I'm being arrested. And they were like, yes, you helped another employee steal this and this and that. I, at the time, didn't have that much money. I could barely have enough money to bail myself out of jail. So I didn't have enough money for a lawyer. And they were trying to charge me with so much, like so many things. Yeah. Yes. And it added up. And they were charging me with a felony. And I was like, oh my God, I paid.
¿Cuánto se robó la amiga?
I know. It's
Toda la tienda
I literally was like, what the heck? I don't have anything in my car, in my house. Go check it. Like, what are you talking about? And they were like, no, we saw that you were helping her, this, and that. And they were like, we have proof. So I'm like, well, you're Nike. You're a big headquarter. Like, what am I going to do? Like, I just had to, be with my little public defender and tell him, like, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. And then they tried to go and arrest her. And she fled the scene, went to Mexico. She went to Mexico. No one could find her. They tried looking for her. I tried finding her. I went to her house every single day. And I'm like, girl, where are you at? Because I'm not about to be arrested again. And I spent the night in jail. I got let out the next day. And then, boom, that's when all the court cases started to happen. And little by little, I don't know if you guys knew this, but every single time you go to court and they're charging you, you have to pay for the court date. Mm-hmm. I did not know that. So I'm like, they're like, oh, we're going to have to reschedule. We're going to have to reschedule. Not enough information, reschedule. I got rescheduled like 3-4 times. And I had to pay for every single time it being rescheduled.
Like the lawyer fees.
Yes.
Yeah.
And at the time, I just got the public defender. But you have to pay to go and have a court case on your name. So it was adding up at the end. And I had no idea.
This.
Yeah, I'm like, what? I'm promised. I'm good. I didn't steal anything. And that's when they were like, well, we're going to have to drop the charges, drop this charge. And at the very end, it was $100 misdemeanor case that they gave me. And they were like, you're going to do 75 days of community work and you're going to have to pay this fine. So they charged me a $6,000 fine on top of paying for every court case that I had to pay for. So I had to pay like another $2,000 for that. And then plus every single day that you go and work for work release, you have to pay to work. So I was out there at the beach picking up the trash, but I was making myself like as comfortable as I can be because I was like, I have 75 days to go through this. And girl, it was embarrassing. Everybody, there would be like little kids walking there would be like, Crystal, is that you? And I'm like, oh my God, don't look at me. Like, no, I'm not here right now. Yes. And at the time, my aunt's bakery was right by the beach. So I would pass by there and she's just staring at me. And the officers are walking right behind me. We're all picking up the trash. And she's just watching me as I'm passing by. And then she calls me later on that day. She's like, what were you doing out there picking up the trash? And then that's finally like when my grandmother told her, like, oh yeah, she got arrested. She's doing her work release. Like, you know, and then she was like, oh my God, I thought she was just doing it to be nice and as a hobby. And I'm like, no.
Like, girl, I would be home.
Yeah, I would literally be home munching. What are you talking about? And then I did that. And you know what? She barely came back this year. And I saw her at the laundromat. And oh my God, it was about to be on site. But I was like, you know what? I'm a humble queen now. Whatever happened. You know, she'll get her karma.
Did you tell her, like, girl, I'm having to pay for all that you did?
Well, because at the time, she deleted all her social medias. She blocked my number. I could not speak to her. I would go to her parents' house and tell them, like, hey, like, this is not me. Like, she has to come back. Like, wherever she's gone, like, she has to come back. I genuinely didn't think she went to Mexico until her mom told me, like, she moved to Mexico. And then boom, she had a baby out there. She had her whole life.
Her whole life. Y tú aquí todavía pagando.
I know me. I'm still going to the work release, still picking up the trash, and she's over there drinking her little piña colada out on the streets, eating a taco.
Pero lo bueno que she's free now.
Yeah.
I open the door right now. They're like, she's here, officer.
Yeah, they're like, arrest her.
Like, she's a little late on payment.
I'm gonna chispale, boy.
Did you finish paying it off, though?
Yes, I did.
Thank God.
Oh my
thank God I don't have to call them.
Yeah, I was like, actually, they're gonna come for me right now.
Quiero platicar un poquito, pues obviamente ahorita te miramos all over social media. I feel like the last couple of months, you've gone viral so many times because of your mukbangs and just your content in general. Yo quiero platicar cómo empezó todo esto. ¿Cuándo dijiste tú, sabes qué? A lo mejor voy a hacer esto, lo que es el social media, me voy a grabar. How did all that start? Cuéntanos.
Honestly, at the time, I was super broke and I was trying to make my money on the Only. If you know, you know. And at the time, all my TikTok accounts were getting banned left and right. So it just was not making me enough money to survive. So at the time, I was like, you know what? Well, I'm getting the munchies. I love to eat. And I love just to see other people eat. And when I was broke, just like you, I would watch other people eat and be infatuated with how they were eating and be like, oh my God, ya estoy llenita.
Yeah,
like they ate all the Wingstop for me. Like, and it looks so delicious that I was like, with my little last $10 bill, I'm going to get some food and I'm going to fill myself. I'm just going to, you know what, try it. Who cares? And at the beginning, it was something light, something easy. It didn't get that many views until I just kept posting and I would just be eating the most randomest things. And that's whenever I got paid. And I was like, okay, this is my cheat meal. Like, I'm just going to be having this little tiny meal and that's it, you know? All the primitas out there were loving my content and genuinely like loving me as a content creator, that they were like, post more. And that's when I tried cooking. Cooking didn't really work out for me because I live in a small little apartment. So I have to share the kitchen. And it would just be like, my suegra's like, I'm trying to cook up dinner. And I'm over here with my camera and my light. And she's like, quítate. And I'm like, okay. So then that's when I just did my mukbangs. And slowly but surely, the primitas and the primitos started to love it. And then, boom, my In-N-Out one was a success. Me eating at In-N-Out made everyone be like, oh my God. And it's all because I had a little pelito in my mouth. And they were like, ew, esta se comió el pelo. Like, oh my God. And then I'm like, hairball. And I start coughing it up, you know, just to be funny. And then they were like, they thought it was the best thing ever. And that's what literally blew me up.
Was that your first viral moment?
Yeah.
How was that for you? Obviamente, me estabas contando que tú ya tenías años, you know, trying to do this content creating thing. You started what, like at 18? You had told me earlier that you had, you know, try to do it, and then it finally kicks off. One of your videos goes viral. What was your reaction? ¿Qué estabas pensando? Oh my God, ya me volví famosa. What was that like when you saw that In-N-Out video go viral?
At that moment in time, when I was 18, I saw everyone doing YouTube, like you and Annette, y comiendo con nosotros.
Yes! Wait. We have to do the little comiendo con nosotros. Yes.
I'm not as good as Annette, but I love you guys. You guys were actually the first mukbangers that I started to watch because I just genuinely loved your guys' vlogs and your guys' content. And at the time, honey, you guys were both coming out with all the makeup videos, and I was obsessed. So I was also like, okay, because these guys inspired me, I'm gonna start posting. But you know what? The beauty girlies didn't love me, so I was like, okay, it's not my time. So I just kept trying different things, but nothing was like hitting like with an audience. No one was actually like liking my content until the In and Out video and like the mukbangs on TikTok started happening. And then when I saw that, wow, like I started getting this traction, it was like, okay, like wow, these girls started liking me. I'm gonna post more. But my truly like I made it moment was my Christmas miracle, you guys. I got my first check from TikTok and it was $1,000. The fact that I made $1,000 on TikTok, I was like, I made it. Let me move out to LA right now. Where's my apartment? Yes. Oh my God. It truly felt like I made it, and I was like, oh my God, this is it. I could only imagine how much money I can make so I can have this be a full-time job.
Yeah.
Because I was flat broke, you guys. I was dealing with $200 a month, and that was all the income I had. So I was like, $1,000? Wow, I could not believe that genuinely like people were making this money. And to me, it just kept getting better and better and better. And thankfully, because of all you guys primitas and primitos out there, you guys genuinely have changed my life completely to the point where I stopped the Only and I became full-time content creator.
Is that all you do now?
It's all content creating.
You started popping off, and I think with social media vienen muchas cosas positivas. Obviamente nos cuentas that now it's your full-time job, but it also comes with a lot of hate. And I feel like you're no stranger to the hate. Siempre te andan comentando una pendejada. You also do get a lot of comments about like body shaming. ¿Cómo le haces tú cuando miras esos comentarios? Does it ever affect you? Cuéntanos.
Honestly, I do not pay attention to any of the negativity because I am not going to spend more than 2 seconds on your comment, because those people who are typing and have the energy and the time to do that and to spend their whole day writing mean comments, they just genuinely don't love themselves. And I love myself. I love myself so much. So I would rather reply to my primitas and my primitos out there that genuinely love my content and want to watch me win. Those are the people who I do the content for. And for other people who are body shaming me, that's the one thing that I've always gotten growing up in high school. But like I said, my face card never declines, baby. And I might be a gordita, but I love it. It's always been me.
Yeah.
And it's not just because all of a sudden I started doing mukbangs and like I started gaining a whole bunch of weight. I've actually been the same exact weight. No bajo, no subo. It's been the same thing ever since I started mukbangs. And I feel like just people want to put out their own insecurities onto my page. So honestly, I don't even give them a time of day, baby.
As you motherfucking should.
Yes.
Igual como entran, igual los mandas a chingar a su madre. How did you come up with the hi primitas? Before you tell me, we gotta get a hello primitas for the podcast.
Hi, primitas. So I genuinely came up with this because my primita, shout out to Mia, she actually calls me primita, which she's actually my cousin, my prima, and she started saying, primita, primita, primita this, primita that. And I'm like, wait, that sounds super cute.
Yeah.
I love that. It's way better than saying prima, you know, or whatever.
Like, hey guys, all me.
And then I'm like, I want to be original. I want to spice up like my content. And I want for you, whenever you hear that, I want you to be like, that's her. I know who it is. I know it's Miss Munchies. And I genuinely feel like I genuinely feel that so many people now that watch me, whenever they say primitas, they know it's me.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love it. I love it. Because when I would watch Comiendo con Nosotros, it was so iconic to me. And you guys would actually, in one video, it was one video where you guys were like, bon appetit, bitches, or something like that. I fell in love with that. You're like, bitch,
me.
Yes. And that's why every single time I say bon appetit, because it was just so iconic for me to see that you guys said it. and it just sounded so good, and you guys were all
yes.
and I loved it. And now that's why, because you were the first person to like I started watching doing mukbangs, that now I'm just like, wow, it was such an iconic moment for me that it never left my mind.
I do sometimes miss it. You guys siempre me andan preguntando, because I feel like a lot of people back in the day, you know, I used to upload every single day, Monday through Friday. That was my schedule on YouTube. Y a mí siempre se me hacía más fácil like film a mukbang. One, because people loved them. Two, it was like, I feel like you've actually have brought it back into moda. Because I feel like for a long time, I feel like mukbangs weren't like doing so good, or people just were like, I don't want to see people eat. And at the time, a mí me encantaba. Like, I would always feel like, you know what? I want to just sit down and eat with my people. Do you ever get in public, like people like, primitas? Do they ever tell you in public?
Yes. Actually, a lot of people want to hear me say it in person. They're like, can you please say it? Can you please say it? Or they'll be like, primita. And that's how they stop me. And I'm just like, that's like honestly like an oh shit moment where I'm like, wow, like you genuinely fuck with me that much. And I love that. I love the fact that other people genuinely like it. You know, there's those comments where like, I hate that, primotas, this and this and that. But I genuinely think it's such a cute saying that it's honestly like the best. When I hear you say it, I'm just like, oh shit, like, Alannized is saying primitas, you guys.
No,
wow.
You're doing the damn thing, honestamente. Like, I feel like you've done a great job with branding yourself, because like you said, anytime I hear the primitas, like I already know it's a video of you. Like, I can't be like primitas and like put it next to anyone else. It's like, no, it's Miss Munchies, and I love it. I love it. Ya para terminar, quiero platicar de tus hidden talents. You know, nos estabas platicando that you do nails. ¿Qué más haces, amigas? ¿Y cómo empezó todo eso? Like, what do you feel like are your hidden talents that maybe not a lot of people know about? ¿Y cómo empezó ese amor for any of those hidden talents?
So as I was letting you guys know, I didn't have a lot of money growing up. So entrepreneurship was always my go-to way to try to make my income. And I started off by doing quinceañera makeups and wedding makeups. And that's how it first started. And then it became doing their hair. And then after hair, I was like, I want to learn how to be a barber. So now I cut Mr. Munchie's hair. I'm always doing his fades, his lineups, everything like that. And I do my own nails. I do my own hair. I literally do it all. I love to master a new skill, and I feel like I'm really, really good at just, honestly, like if you need a girl to do your makeup, do your hair, do your lashes, and then fade up your mat, that's me, girl. Yeah. You call me. And I genuinely feel like that's just the best way to be as an entrepreneur and to make money, because you have all of these different options. You know, you're not just stuck on when it's wedding season and you can only do hair, you can only do quince makeups. Like, I genuinely love to make money, and I will try any way too. So that's exactly how I got started.
I gotta learn new techniques and new fucking shit, which is a good thing, because hay gente que dice, pues no sé, no voy a aprender. And you're like, no sé, pero me voy a poner las pilas and I'm gonna do it. Ya para terminar la entrevista del día de hoy, vamos a terminar con la pregunta que yo siempre termino with. ¿En dónde te miras tú en los próximos 5 años? Whether that's you professionally, whether that's you personally, ¿qué metas tienes tú en los próximos 5 años?
I would love to have my own charity, or to be helping out a charity for all SA survivors, and to just have somewhere where they feel safe. I want to create an environment, a group of people where they can come to me and be like, wow, like your story helped me, or wow, I'm able to get resources from you. Yeah. That's genuinely what I want to do. I want to advocate for every single little primito out there that doesn't feel like they have anybody to talk to, that doesn't feel like they could come out about these things. And it doesn't just have to be about that. It could be literally about anything. I just want to be a safe space and to provide help where it's needed. And I genuinely feel like if I had someone like me when I was younger to help me out and to show me, hey, there's this option and then you can also get help here, I would have spoken up a lot sooner. And I feel like I want to end that generational trauma and that cycle that just keeps going on. And I'm not going to be like my mother or my grandmother where I'm just going to sweep it under the rug and forget about it. No, I want to end it with me. And I want you to know that you can come to me and I can help you out in any way, shape, or form. And that's what I want to do in the next 5 years.
And I feel like just for the simple fact of you sitting down with me and telling your story. I feel like you're already going to be doing that for a lot of people, because a veces miro muchos comentarios, like whether it's about this case or any case, and people always identify one way or another with whoever I'm interviewing. Y yo sé que va a haber muchas primitas or primitos back at home watching this right now and be like, you know what, si ella pudo salir adelante despite everything she's gone through, yo también puedo. But with that being said, en verdad que sí, I really do appreciate you coming on here. Yo sé que allá en casita a ustedes les encantó. So thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I genuinely have been manifesting this my whole entire life, that I am so honored to be sitting next to Alannized,
no,
guys. Like,
I'm the honored one.
No, you have no idea. I've manifested this, and to be here is my I made it moment. But before we leave, I have a very, very special little gift. Mr. Munchies, bring it out.
Amigas, oh my God, I'm not even gonna act like I haven't seen it, bitch,
Yes.
but I want to show it to you guys because llegaron literal con regalitos y ustedes saben que a mí me encanta. Me telling everyone, I'm like, for future guests, vengan con regalitos, ¿no es cierto? Pero miren qué bonito está esta, amigas. Este es un ramo buchón con la Rhea Ripley. If you guys know, I'm a huge wrestling fan. Y me estabas contando que también tú y tu novio son huge wrestling fans.
Yes, we actually love wrestling so much. So the fact that I knew you loved wrestling as well, I was like, I have to get him something with Miss Rhea Ripley, because if you know, she's a badass.
She's a mommy,
yes.
literally. Y también nos trajo otro ramo buchón, amigas. I swear, like, I'm obsessed with these. Look at this one, amigas. Este aquí está mi amigo el Chucky. Did you make these? You were telling me you made these, right?
So I actually got the ramo like actually made by some other girl, but I added all of the little accessories to it because I just had to make it a little bit more personalized, and because I wanted you to know that I love your content. I actually am like a true subscriber on YouTube, and I love watching it. I just love your little Chucky collection, and the fact that you have all of the belts for WWE. Oh my God, that was iconic. When I saw that, I was like,
you're like, I got to.
Yes.
Me estaba diciendo que sí. Next year, WrestleMania is going to be in Vegas.
We should go.
I'm like, vámonos. No, honestly,
Yes.
like WrestleMania, I've gone to a lot of events, and I feel like for me, WrestleMania and the Royal Rumble are my favorites. So en verdad que sí te agradezco. So with that being said, amigas, espero muchísimo que les haya gustado el episodio del día de hoy. If you guys want, no, if you guys, vayan y sigan a Miss Munchies. Ahí les voy a dejar all her links plus her usernames down below para que la vayan y la sigan on all her social media. Y también no se les olvide seguirme a mí so you guys won't miss any future episodes. And with that being said, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Bye, primitas.
And thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Bye.
You did so good.